Disincarnation is a profoundly meaningful and transformative process, not only for the spirit that departs from the physical body but also for the loved ones who remain in the material plane. When a being disincarnates, it crosses a threshold between two worlds, the physical and the spiritual. This moment is marked by a series of intense experiences, both for the disincarnating spirit and those left behind, and its understanding in the spiritual plane goes beyond the simple separation of the soul from the body. Disincarnation is not an abrupt rupture, it is a gradual transition and, in many cases, a complex process that requires assistance, understanding, and guidance. The spirit that leaves the physical body often encounters difficulties in adapting to the spiritual world. These difficulties are not only caused by material limitations, such as lack of preparation, but also by emotional and psychological issues deeply rooted. Attachment to physical life, emotional bonds with loved ones, and fear of death are factors that can make this process more painful and challenging. Often, the spirit is not prepared to sever the ties that bind it to the material plane, which prolongs suffering. The intervention of spirit friends or deceased relatives, more spiritually evolved, is crucial in this process. They act as guides and protectors, helping the spirit to move away from spiritual dangers and guiding it to the most suitable environment for its level of evolution, where it can be supported until it stabilizes in the spiritual plane. These familiar or friendly spirits who have already walked a path of evolution before the disincarnate offer essential support, ensuring that it does not get lost in a state of confusion or deep suffering. The welcoming and presence of these guides are vital, because there is always the risk that the spirit, not fully understanding its new reality, may get lost in disoriented environments, where there is no light or support as it could receive. Additionally, these spirits of light take care of driving away negative influences, wandering spirits, or obsessors who may try to divert the disincarnate from its natural path, preventing it from advancing to the next stage of its evolution. Their presence is like a friendly hand, safely and lovingly guiding the spirit through the shadows of the unknown to higher spheres. However, the transition is not without internal challenges for the spirit. Often, the spirit clings to the physical body due to unresolved emotional traumas or fear of departure. The process of separation from the body is marked by resistance, a kind of agony that occurs when the soul cannot completely detach from matter. The fear of death, which affects even the most spiritualized, can create psychological pressure that prevents the spirit's full liberation. Attachment to the physical world and its material pleasures, such as possessions or intense personal relationships, makes it difficult to break the magnetic bonds that still connect them to the physical body. This is a significant obstacle, as the soul's resistance to change prolongs suffering, creating a state of confusion between the spiritual and material planes. Furthermore, the emotional bonds with the family members who remain also play an important role in the difficulty of the disincarnate in freeing itself. When family members, still attached to the loved one, try to maintain an intense connection with them, whether through despair, love, or the pain of separation, they end up creating a magnetic field that prolongs the disincarnation process. This love, though genuine and well-intentioned, often becomes a burden to the spirit, preventing it from distancing itself from the physical body and the material plane. The spirit, though free in essence, remains bound to the feelings of its loved ones who, in turn, cannot accept the separation. This scenario creates an exchange of energies that hinders both the spirit's journey and the emotional healing process of the family members. The spirit, which should already be starting a new journey in the spiritual plane, still finds itself connected to the emotional ties and unresolved feelings of those left behind. This process is painful for everyone involved, as family members, while still on Earth, experience the pain of loss intensely, and the spirit, in turn, feels trapped in a world that no longer belongs to it. The cycle of life and death, in its spiritual depth, reveals that definitive separation is an illusion, as love and spiritual connections continue to exist in the subtle plane, even after physical death. On the other hand, the karmic nature of death and disincarnation also comes into play. The life of each being is interlinked with its own spiritual evolution process, and the moment of disincarnation is determined by this evolutionary process. When the time comes for the spirit to fulfill its earthly mission or when it has already reached its evolutionary goal, physical death becomes a natural and inevitable step. Nothing can delay this process, because, in the spiritual plane, physical death is just a transition to a higher reality. If the karmic hour has come, the spirit will detach from the body, regardless of the care or efforts of doctors or those who try to delay the departure. This ultimately reveals the immortality of the soul, which does not depend on the physical condition of the body. Moreover, the understanding of the spiritual plane about death goes beyond simple acceptance. In the spiritual plane, death is seen as an integral part of the cycle of life. It is not an end, but a new beginning. The spirit, after its physical death, is received with serenity, regardless of the suffering it may have experienced on earth. For the family members who remain, the suffering is natural but temporary. The spirit returns to the spiritual plane, where its mission continues and where it will be guided to continue its journey of learning and evolution. It is essential that those who remain understand that the life cycle is not interrupted, but rather transformed. The spirit does not disappear, it only reintegrates into the spiritual plane, following its natural path of evolution. One must accept the process of death as part of the natural cycle of life. Death, seen through spiritual eyes, is a passage to a new stage of existence, where the spirit will continue to evolve. For the family members, the best way to deal with this loss is through detachment, acceptance, and trust that the loved one will be well in the spiritual plane. By understanding the immortality of the soul and the continuity of spiritual life, everyone can face the departure with more serenity and less suffering, knowing that physical separation is not the end of the connection between beings. If you enjoyed this video and want to follow more exciting content about the spiritual world and the evolution of souls, subscribe to our channel and leave your like. Your subscription helps us bring more stories and teachings to you and to everyone seeking peace and learning. Don't miss the next videos and share them with your friends.